Okay. Okay, we've got great. People are coming in. This is amazing. Um, okay, so I'll leave it open for 3 more minutes. So you guys have time to set up, get your characters ready. I see we have, I don't know what the animal here is. I know it has a hat on, but in the middle, I think that's a unicorn. And then we've got something that looks like a Pixar character on the left. But yeah, feel free to join. I'll leave it open for 3 more minutes. We'll get started at 5. Well, not 5. The computer's an hour at 4:09. Great. One more person. The pancakes. They look really good. Come on, everybody. You've got 2 more minutes. We want to make the most of this session because we really want to get to answer all of your questions. And we're really excited. We've been preparing this for, believe it or not, like a month. So kind of crazy. Oh, we lost one. No. Come on, come back. Don't be shy. We'll get started, I promise. I'm not just stringing you along for fun. Um, okay. Yes, there we go. Perfect. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'll get started. Let's see. Start. And I'll have Justin lead this because he made the lovely Kahoot. So I'll just click start and then Justin, you go ahead with the questions, okay?
Got it. So does everybody know how to play Kahoot? Like thumbs up or any reaction if you do. If not, just stay with their screen. All right. Okay, you do. Okay, a few people do know. So basically Kahoot works. They'll give you 20 seconds to answer this question. So you have 4 multiple choice. So the question is, how many universities are there in the US? And then you can guess and go ahead and guess, like if it's 100, 4,700, but you only have 20 seconds. So try to be quick. So 3 people chose 2,200. One person chose the right answer, which is 4,700. So that's basically the game, and we're gonna go through a series of like different questions. Some are fun, some are about Education USA, and hopefully that also helps start some conversation about what questions you can ask us in the Q&A. Do you want to do the next one, Amelia? All right, congrats. Why? What is the oldest university in the US? College of William and Mary, University of Chicago, Harvard, or Yale? 3 answers, 4 answers, and we have 5 participants, right? There you go. Yeah, so 2 people got it right. Harvard is the oldest university in the US. It is also one of the most renowned worldwide. So for those of you guys who got it correct, congrats. Okay, so this time it was Mari, and who else got it right? Victor? Well, cool. So whoever wins at the end, we don't have prizes, but you can get a big round of applause. So the next question is, how many international students are approximately currently studying at universities in the US? $200,000, $400,000, $600,000, or 1 million? Okay, everybody answered million, 600,000, 400,000. All right. So the correct answer is about 1 million every year, currently studying at universities in the US. Okay. Got it right. Good job. What is this one's kind of like an easy one, but all 3 of us are from University of Chicago, so I had to include some questions in there. What is the full name of U Chicago? University of Illinois, Chicago, Northwestern, the University of Chicago, or Chicago College? Okay, everybody got it right. Oh, somebody got University of Illinois. So the funny part about this is that most people often think that U Chicago is University of Illinois Chicago, which is a public institution as of the Illinois system, which we can explain a little bit better how that works later on. But what region is Chicago located in? East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, or Southeast region? Thoughts? Okay, so we got mixed reviews for this one. This is the Midwest, but I think some people know what the East Coast and West Coast is. Um, in general, in the US, East Coast would be like New York, Pennsylvania, where a lot of colleges are. Another one would be the West Coast, so like California, Oregon, and then the Midwest is like the middle of the US. And it includes like Illinois, like Chicago, for example, or Kansas City. And then the Southeast region, that would be like Texas, for example. And this is generally how the people understand like the US regions, but there's also like Northwest, Northeast. So yeah. Yeah, why knows everything. How many colleges or universities are approximately in New York State? So this is in the state of New York. 100, 200, 300, or 400. Four answers, I think. Cool. So this one, nobody got right. There are approximately 300 in New York State. I believe the exact number is 305, but you can go ahead and check in some of our social media on our weekly post. We often post about specific states and some things like attractions or universities specific to each state. So yeah, next question. What state is called the Sunshine State? Florida, California, New York, Montana. Okay, people are running out of time on this one. 3, 2, 1. All right, only 3 people answered this one. So I think somebody got it right. They got Florida. California is a great guess. But I don't know what they call California. But the Sunshine State of Florida, as you know, like Miami, Orlando, they have a lot of cities like that. Why is still up, but everybody has getting really good scores, so that's really impressive. What region is Los Angeles located in? East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, Southeast. I kind of gave this one away a little bit earlier, so let's see if you were paying attention. All right, 2 people said Southeast. There you go. It is the West Coast, but what region is Texas located in? Texas is one of the bigger states, might be the biggest in the US. So what region do you think it is in? East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, or Southwest region? 4 answers. All right. 2, 1. So Texas is in the Southwest region. It is not quite the West Coast. It is usually known as like the South part of the US. Midwest, it could be accurate, but the way they divide it is also like north, south is the second way. So this one was a little bit tricky, but nice job, everybody. All right, Pam, you're in the lead now. What system does the US use to measure? So this is kind of like if you go to a store and you buy something, an amount of tortillas, what would you buy it in if you were in the US? The Yeah, okay, people didn't know that one. So the US doesn't use like the metric system, like meters, kilometers. I can't pronounce that, but hey, what they use in the US is the US custom measurement system. So they use like feet and yards and pounds and their own kind of system, which they're the only country to do that. But go them. Next question. Oh, Victor's on fire. Your streak of 4. Great job. What is the coldest temperature ever recorded in the US? So as you know, the northern part of the US can get really cold. What do you think is the maximum or like the lowest ever recorded temperature? -20, -47. Oh, that was quick. Cool. So the accurate is -78, and it was in a mountain in Montana. As you know, that's like really, 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 really cold. So yeah, the US is the north part of the US can be cold if you're thinking of studying there. Oh, Victor, I think you lost your streak on that one. Who is the current US president? Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris. This one is kind of easy, but US politics also super important. They help like know how the culture is set for the next 4 years. So 4 answers. All right, everybody got that one right. Nice. We all know who's making decisions right now. All right, this one, the rest of the questions are Education USA focused, which is what brought most of you guys here. So how many centers do you think there are in Mexico? I hope the advisors get these ones right. Okay, 2 people got it right. That's great. There are 23 centers distributed across Mexico. So good job for those who got it right. So what Education USA center is hosting this event today? Guadalajara, Yucatan, Mexico City, or all of the above? All of the above. Okay, some people thought Yucatan and then some people Mexico City. That's great. All of us are hosting it. Erika is joining us from Guadalajara, and Emilia from Mexico City. And you'll get to ask a little bit more about us in a bit. So excited to have you guys here. What services does Education USA offer? These are just some of them. So advising by appointments, participating in college fairs, information on local government and foundation scholarships. Thoughts? All of the above, yes. So all of those services, and if you go on educationusa.org or .com, you'll find that they offer a lot of services. So make sure to reach out if you have any questions or you want help to study. What is the first step of Education USA's 5-step to US study? These next 4 questions are going to be about this, and we'll cover this a little bit, but this is just general knowledge to have, and it's super important. So the first thing you do would research your options, prepare for your departure, finance your study, or complete your application. Research your options, exactly. Before you can complete any applications, you know what you need to apply for. So great job for those of you who chose that. Once you have your options, then you can go ahead and do whatever steps are next. And talking about next steps, what is the second step? Again, research your options, prepare for your departure, finance your study, or apply for your student visa. Once you have your options, what's next? Yes, we have to pay for this somehow. So applying to scholarships, applying to colleges, that's the next step that you'd be looking for. And now we're going to go into the third step. Oh, Pam, you're in a streak. Great. What is the third step? Apply for your student visa, finance your study, complete your application, or prepare for your departure. If you've been paying attention, there's only 3 left. So hopefully close. Okay, so a lot thought the visa came first, but before you apply for your visa, it's often recommended that you complete your application because it gives you a stronger case. So this is very important. Once you have the money or you know what you're applying to, also apply for your for the programs you want to go to. So next question, please. Oh, I'm sorry, you lost your streak. All right, almost there. What is the fourth step? At this point, you've already crossed out 3. So would you apply for your visa, finance your study, complete your application, or prepare for your departure? Everybody should be getting this one right. And if not, that's okay. All right. So somebody said prepare for your departure. Before you can prepare, you have to apply for your student visa. But yeah, you have one more step before you can go and study to the US. And what step would that be? Oh, Sandra's on a streak. Congrats, Sandra. The 5th step, and hopefully everybody will get there. Would you apply for your visa, finance your studies, complete your application, or prepare for your departure? Yes, everybody got that one right. So great job, everybody. That's kind of a little bit about the US, how the regions work, about the colleges in general, and just about Education USA and how we can help you achieve your goals of studying in the US. Now we're going to go ahead and have the Education USA student Q&A. So I'm going to kick it back to Ana Emilia and Erica, who'll be leading the next section. Thank you guys for coming. Hopefully this was fun. Congrats, Pam, Victor, and Mari.
Thank you, Justin, for keeping us on our toes and for that presentation. I didn't even know the answers to some of the questions, so it was educational for me too. Congrats to the winners, and we're going to get started with our discussion. And yeah, so the way we divided this is we have couple different sections on different portions of college life. So we're going to go one by one, and then feel free to write a question in the chat, or if you want this to be more interactive, which is kind of what we want to do. We want to just really be able to share completely. Turn on your mic and just say anything you want, and we'll, not anything you want, but ask a question, and we'll do our best to answer and really take advantage of the opportunity. We have 3 different students here. 2 of them are more knowledgeable, I guess, than me because they're going into their 4th year, and we all have different majors. We all come from different places, so feel free to ask anything and we'll all give you our input. So we'll get started with classes. So does anybody have any questions on classes? I want to start by, like, while we get people to ask questions, want to mention something specific to U Chicago, but I know Columbia also has this, which is the core. And we were just talking about this before we started the session. I still have to finish my core requirements for biology and physics. So basically at U Chicago, there's a set of classes that you have to take in, like, the general education requirement. And that's social sciences, humanities, language, math, arts, civilization, physics, and biology. I think I got all of those. But yeah, so you can, what's good, okay, what I like about this is that I've been exploring subjects that I might not have chosen to do, like biology. But what I like best is I get to meet students who have a lot of different majors, because, like, I don't know, I was in a lot of classes with MEng, which is molecular engineering majors, and I don't think I would have met them otherwise if we hadn't had core math together. So that's just one example. Yeah, just feel free to ask any question on classes while we're here. Okay, we don't have any questions. I'll ask Erika and Justin to give their input on what has been your favorite class at U Chicago so far. I'm really curious to hear.
That is a really good question. I liked the classes that were archival based courses. So at University of Chicago, one opportunity that they give us is they have classes that are based on going into the archives and the collection that the university has in the libraries or in special collections, and you build projects based on that. So I really loved that experience of working hands-on with materials that the library has in their collection. My favorite class that I've taken was called Human Bodies in History. So it really connected aspects of both of my fields of study, both literature and sociology, to look at how people and human experiences are discussed in archival works. I found it really interesting. I also love that University of Chicago offers those types of courses where we can learn how to do research and how to put together research projects. I thought that was really helpful for me as a student.
Wow, I didn't know that those classes, I think I've heard one of my friends took one. He was always at the reg. He was like, I have to go to the reg something floor. And I was like, okay, like go. But that's really cool. Justin, what about you? What's been your favorite class at U Chicago?
So I probably have two classes, and they have both been with Booth. Booth is the School of Business at the University of Chicago, so it's like a graduate school. But as an undergrad in U Chicago, you're able to take different courses in like Harris or Crown, which are like social sciences or law school or business school. And the two that I took, they were really hard, but also like very like it was something like I really enjoyed. One of them was called marketing management, and they basically teach you how companies think about marketing. So now every time I see like an ad or like a coffee shop, I'm just like, oh, that's what I learned in class. So it's something that I can really apply in my day-to-day life. And I can try to see when people are trying to sell something to me. Which now I don't know, I just find it a very useful skill. And the other one is called Building the New Venture, which is actually a class that I'll be finishing up this summer. And it's basically you build your entire company from scratch. And they bring guest speakers. So we had guest speakers from like the founders of like Grubhub, people who were at the beginning of Amazon, or these like really cool people who have just like so much knowledge to share. And I was just like, what's going on? Like, this is so cool. So for me, it was just crazy. And I think in college, they often bring like a lot of guest speakers into classes or into general like events. I not just U Chicago, but like any university in general, they always have guest speakers coming in. So I thought it was super interesting to be able to take that class and like hear from those type of people. While also being like hands-on and learning a little bit more about how I could build my own business. So.
Yeah, I think I can, oh, sorry. I think for sure at U Chicago, something that for me has been like the craziest thing has been like being able to hear from people. Like, and this can be anywhere, guys. Like if you're into physics, I'm not, but I know my friends were fangirling about some physicists that came to speak, and I'm really into politics, and I got a job at the IOP, and I got to be in the same elevator as the Secretary of State, like by accident. And all of those people, like, they come to the school and they're so excited about like listening to questions and answering and like telling you their stories. And like Justin said, people from like Amazon at the beginning, that's like crazy. That's like a time capsule. So definitely like the perspectives.
Would you mind explaining what the IOP is?
Oh, yes, for sure. So the IOP is the Institute of Politics at the University of Chicago. And it's basically, so it's a house on the street, and they bring guest speakers to speak at the university. We've had the ex-vice president, we had Mike Pence come in, we had Blinken, the Secretary of State, come in, we had Nancy Pelosi come in, and those are like the big profile events, but something I love about the IOP is they have smaller events. So my favorite one was at the Crown School, with Justin mentioned. The Crown School is a school of social work and social policy. And we had an event at the Crown School talking about the issues with domestic adoption in the United States right now. And we had one person who was in the foster care system, and it was one of those experiences that I left thinking like, oh wow, that like really was an illuminating experience. And so the IOP is like one of those organizations at school that brings people together. They also have, there's the IOP tech team, which does stuff with artificial intelligence and coding. I know one of my friends works with them. There's the student advisory board, with like chooses who comes. We have UChicago fellows, so politicians or people that work in politics and policy come in for the whole year to just talk to students, and they have seminars. That's how I met Beto O'Rourke, and that was crazy too. I see we have some questions. Oh no, that's Justin. Hi, Justin. So yeah, let's keep going. Do you guys have any questions on classes, things like that at UChicago or in college in general? Don't think that UChicago is completely unique. In most classrooms look like this at most colleges. So if you have any general questions, feel free to ask. And yeah, if you think of something later, put it in the chat and we'll go back to it. Don't worry, this isn't a strict division. Yeah, let's see. So, okay, it's not moving. Okay, dorm life. I think this is a very interesting one. So if I'm not wrong, because both of you are going to be fourth years, then you started during COVID. And from what I've heard, that was horrible. I heard about Chicago cares, and people were like, yeah, so I'm gonna let you both of you take it, and then I'll talk about like the normalcy of it, but you guys talk about like the initial change and everything, and then I'll mention something on roommates. But yeah, both of you go ahead.
Cool. So we have a question. How long does each program take? For example, it drew my attention to languages and social. So that's going to depend on your college, but for the most part, college in the US tends to be about 4 years. So since you mentioned languages, I think Erika, you can probably talk about the Ana Emilia, sorry. You can talk about that one. And in terms of social, like I said, it's political science. It is like a 4-year major, but you're allowed to take like a variety of classes. So yeah, it takes around 4 years approximately, but it varies on institution and on major, similar to like in Mexico as well.
Yeah, and something, if I can just say real quick, something that a lot of universities does, but UChicago has a specific, like, they push you to do is to double major. So if you're interested in both languages and, let's say, sociology or social work, you can combine those two and do a double major. So like all of us, I think, are doing double majors. Justin's double major in political science, business economics. Erika's double majoring in, okay, I remember, sociology.
And then sociology.
There we go. And I'm public policy and business economics. So with 4 years, you can take classes in both fields and really learn a lot.
And I would just like to add that a lot of these programs work really well together. So a lot of your studies may overlap. Like for me, a lot of the classes that I take with the Romance Language and Literature department, I also receive credit for like my sociology degree because they discuss similar themes. So you can really design your coursework to best fit you. And a lot of times, if you have two different interests, you can find a way to make them work together that benefits you the most.
Okay. So I'm gonna get back to dorm life. Yes, it was 2020 and we were living in a building with a bunch of people. They were very strict about it, at least at UChicago, not all colleges were. We had to be 6 feet distancing, wearing a mask at all times. But the whole idea of the dorm life is that you're able to meet people within the dorm. So like Ana Emilia mentioned earlier, like people with different majors that maybe you wouldn't otherwise. And there's a bunch of like house activities. So the residence is divided by houses, so kind of like Harry Potter, if that gives you a reference. So say like some wear Gryffindor, others wear Hufflepuff. So yeah, so I never had a roommate because during COVID we weren't allowed to have roommates. And second year I didn't want roommates. I'm a very private person. I like to have my own space to like, I don't know, just go and take a nap whenever I want to. Um, so I never had a roommate, so I don't know what that is like. But living in the dorms was really nice. I got to meet a lot of people. I really bonded with people within my house. And yeah, I just really enjoyed like living there. Um, for U Chicago, I think the mandatory is now like 2 years that you have to live in the dorms. It used to be one, they changed it up to two. And my favorite part about living in the dorms was that I had like the dining halls right in front of me. Um, Dining halls are places where you can just go eat. And different colleges have it differently, but at U Chicago, you just pass your card and then it's like a buffet style. You can go and choose whatever you want to eat, and you get about like 2 to 3 meals a day or unlimited depending. Others like they give you a balance and you have to pay for each time. Like it just varies based on colleges. Um, but yeah, dorm life, I particularly enjoy it. Not everybody has the same experience. Erica and then Amelia, I don't know what your experience was like.
Yeah, I can say about roommates because I just started last year and I for sure had a roommate, but I had a really positive experience. I love my roommate. She was amazing. And we're two completely different people. I'm from Mexico. She's from Long Island, New York. She's an athlete. She's a lacrosse player. And she started as a physics major. And it was really cool because I got to meet so many people that I wouldn't have met if she wasn't my roommate. And she got to meet a lot of my friends. And I had a really positive experience with a roommate. And I think it's all about having an open mind, but also setting clear boundaries about, oh, my roommate, for example, had to wake up at 6 a.m. practice very often. And it's not like I could be like, no, you're gonna wake me up. And it's just a matter of like compromise and communication. And I like also, yeah, because a lot of colleges let you choose your roommate, but at least at U Chicago, it's completely random. And so it's just really cool to get to know someone. And as to like your house, I was in a house in North. That's one of the dorms at U Chicago. And one of my closest friends that ended up being like my neighbor directly upstairs from me. And we met because we had the same career advisor and we started talking and we're still really close friends. I just called her yesterday. So dorms can be a really positive way. I know people, I have some friends at UC Berkeley and she just graduated and her senior year graduation pictures were with people from her freshman year floor. That ended up being her friend group through the whole 4 years, which is I'm not saying that happens for everybody, but dorms are definitely a way in which you get to meet people, get to know your classmates.
I agree with what both of you said. I don't have much to add. I think that dorms are a really good opportunity to meet people when you're new on campus because everybody is new. And I also met a lot of people who I still remain in contact with and who I do consider close friends still. So I think it was a positive experience for me as well.
Great. Any questions about dorms, about roommates? Feel free to write them in the chat or just raise your hand. And yeah, we'll move on to the next one. Okay, this is a big one, at least at U Chicago. It's a very big deal. I was just getting stressed about it yesterday. But so so extracurriculars in high school are usually you just stay after school for an hour or two, and it's either sports or academic teams, and it's usually that very clear divide, right? You either do debate or you play soccer, and there's kind of limited options. at the University of Chicago and at most other universities, there's more than 200 extracurricular activities or groups or yeah. At U Chicago, we call them RSOs, which are registered student organizations. And at U Chicago, I think we have like 400 or more RSOs, and new ones come up each year. One of my friends just founded one. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about, so I think we can each share. So Erica, if you could share like what RSOs you've been a part of throughout your years, and then I'll go.
So I actually have not done RSOs. For me, what I thought would be a better usage of my time and what I was more interested in was having internships on campus. So what I did was for about a year and a half, I interned with the school's art museum. It's called the David and Alfred Smart Museum of Art. So through that experience, I was able to learn a lot about how museums work and about different positions in museums. And for me, that was really interesting because it was something that I wanted to pursue potentially. So I actually don't have much experience with extracurricular activities at University of Chicago, but I think that does show you like there are a lot of options if there aren't clubs that suit your interests, or if you think that you would have, or if you think you would gain more out of an internship experience or a student, like a student employment position. There are different ways to get involved and different ways to gain experience in areas that you're interested in.
Wow, that's crazy. I love the Smart Museum. I feel it's really cool. That's crazy that you got to work there. I took the opposite approach, I think. So when I started, and this is a failure and a success story. I did mock trial in high school, and so I was like, oh, I'll just do it again in college. And I tried out for mock trial and I did not get in. And then I was like, okay, that's all right. Doesn't matter. And then I tried out for another one called moot court, which is like mock trial, but they simulate the Supreme Court. And I did not get in either. And then so after two, I was like, no, maybe this isn't for me. So I was trying to find other ones, and I decided to rush a sorority because it was like, I might as well make friends while we're at it. And it was great. I had a great time. I met a lot of good friends there. And what I wanted a sorority to be is for mentorship, because I didn't know anybody older except from one of my friend's older brothers, who later became one of my good friends too. But I didn't know anybody older at the university. And so I wanted maybe somebody to tell me, oh, like, don't take this class, or, oh, like, you kind of want somebody to be there to guide you or to help you with any random question. And I had a great time in a sorority. I now have a leadership position there. And then after that, my friend was like, oh, will you come with me to this RSO meeting they're doing for Model UN? And my high school didn't have Model UN. Nobody in my city or county did Model UN, so it wasn't very known. And Model UN at U Chicago is actually the biggest RSO. And I went just because they said that they were giving out free Rice Krispie treats. And I ended up liking the people there. I was like, okay, this sounds interesting. This seems like a cool opportunity. They debate international politics and policy, and I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. This sounds amazing. And I talked to the vice president at the time. I was like, hey, how do I get involved? And she was like, oh, I'll put you in the group chat right now. And since then, I've been a member of Model UN at the University of Chicago, and it's now, I think, my biggest time commitment outside of school. There's lots of opportunities for growth, and that's just one example I want to share with you guys, that if you don't manage to get into one your first time, because at U Chicago and at a lot of maybe competitive universities, there might be more competitive RSOs where it's harder to get in, but trust me, you will always find one that will take you, or you'll find an internship, or there's always so many opportunities. I have friends who are in rock climbing club. One of my friends does Okay, there's rock climbing. There's like house council, which is like for your dorm. You can also, yeah, like I have friends whose main RSOs are Ex Libris, which is our student-run cafe inside the library, and they love it. And it looks like such a fun community. I'm kind of jealous sometimes. And yeah, like you'll always find a community at U Chicago. And if you really want to start something, like you can start something. I have a friend who started the U Chicago undergrad student LGBTQ organization. And it's great, and they just had an event and it looked so fun. And yeah, there's always going to be something for you to do. You're always going to find something there for you, and you'll have a good time. And it's all about looking. And we had how you find out about these is there's an RSO fair. So at the beginning of the year, and this goes for most every college, there's a club fair and activities fair. They'll have the whole quad or whole green areas covered with tables. There's people there telling you, oh, join this, join this. And you'll sign up for list hosts, which are email chains. And then you get the emails and they say, oh, first meeting here. And then you go and you get lost and you don't find the building. And so then you're wandering around campus. I'm kidding, but that did happen to me. So make sure you have your map open. But yeah, so I'm in some list hosts of RSOs I didn't end up joining, but I like to stay updated. So yeah, there's always going to be something for you there. Does anybody have any questions on an RSO? Maybe they were considering one or a club. If you have any questions about like Erika's internship or my RSOs, feel free to ask. One other RSO I do want to share is that there's a lot for cultural groups so at U Chicago, there's OLAS, which is the Organization of Latin American Students. I'm not a part of that, but a lot of my friends are, and I go to their events. They have this big like fundraiser every year, the cultural show, and it's really cool. I'm part of the University of Chicago Mexican Association, and what we do with them is we bring in, like kind of like what the IOP does, we bring in speakers in Mexican politics and policy to talk at the university, and it's really cool. I love that job. Yeah, there's so many cultural groups, so many cultural organizations you can be a part of. Yeah, that's just one that I wanted to share. Any questions on extracurriculars? You can also ask after we move on. Okay. So adjusting to college. Erika, I want to ask you first because I know it was very strange with COVID, I'm guessing, but what was your experience adjusting to college? Oh,
Yeah, thank you for asking. So for me, it was kind of a difficult adjustment coming in when we were doing social distancing, and a lot of the policies that the university had were like isolation-based policies. So I thought it was a little bit challenging to meet people. I also think a very common experience that a lot of people have shared with me is kind of a feelings of imposter syndrome a little bit. So feeling like maybe everybody else at the school is so much smarter than me, or they've done so many more impressive things than I have. So for me, that was all part of the process of adjusting, was kind of recognizing that every student here has merit and deserves to be here. But it did take me a little while, and it took me like a few months to meet people and make friends before I was able to really feel comfortable and like at home on campus. How was your experience, Anna Media?
I definitely agree with the imposter syndrome thing. And this is something that was warned to me even before college. Because I did a program at the university called the Neubauer program, and it's for Latino students, Hispanic and Latino students who are going in. And during Neubauer, we had a whole presentation on imposter syndrome and how to avoid it. And I was like, oh, like I'm pretty confident in my abilities and in my achievements. First day of school, I left my first college class crying. I was like, I can't do this. I was so upset. I took that class with my best friend now, and he was like, no, you'll be fine, like stay, because you can drop the class if you can drop classes and switch and add, and it's usually pretty good. And I was like, I can't do this. There was just so much negativity, but then I realized it was only inside of me. So it was only me telling myself, oh, you can't do this. There was nobody, absolutely nobody around saying like, oh my God, she's stupid. It was just me being unsure of my own abilities. And then there's always resources at a university to help you out. Shout out, this Friday, I'm going to do a Zoom on additional resources at universities. You guys want to join? It's in our link tree. But yeah, so adjusting was it. I think what was hardest for me was adjusting academically, because something that really helped me was that I had my group of ex Neubauers coming in. So it was a group of Hispanic students just like me. Most of them were also first gen like me. And so it was great to kind of have that support system of people. And I'm still so close to them. I'm going on a trip with them in 2 weeks. Like they're a really great group of people. Um, and so adjusting socially wasn't that bad for me either. Like I said, I had a great roommate. I had a good group of friends going in, and obviously that changes, but what was hardest for me was adjusting academically, especially because it's kind of a very different, every class is different and everybody's experience is different, and so it can get a little bit overwhelming. Um, but something that I really like about U Chicago, and I know that this happens at other colleges too, is that students kind of like suffer together with classes. So like one example I can give is everybody, because of the core, like we were explaining earlier, core math, for example, the people in my core math, I still say hi to, and they're still friends, even though we have absolutely nothing in common, except for the fact that we had this one teacher during fall quarter. And that was kind of like a thing. Or my Soc classmates, because I took Soc this year. I still have so many selfies with my Soc classmates from school. Yeah, so adjusting is very, I think I'll be honest, it's kind of difficult, but it's it's just about seeing the end of like the difficulty and reaching out. There's always resources. I found a tutor at school for free. Like there's always going to be, you can go to your house events, there's support everywhere. Justin?
Yes, sorry, my Wi-Fi
Oh,
went out. It started raining and it's just like not good. But in terms of adjusting, so my story is a little bit weirder because I moved to the US when I was 16. So I moved there for high school. So college wasn't too hard for me to adapt. But in high school it was. And I think what you guys were already mentioned was on spot, like imposter syndrome. It is a real thing. When I got to Chicago, I also felt it. Not like sometimes not feeling like I belong or being like homesick. Like that happens whenever you move anywhere, to be honest. But I think the trade-off of feeling that sometimes over all of the good experiences that you take is worth it. So for me, it was great to just be able to meet people. So through my house, like I made a lot of friends who I still like hang out with. Through sports, like joining clubs like the ones we mentioned before. I used to be like president of OLAS, which is the Organization of Latin American Students. So for me, like being Latino is a great part. Like I needed to go and dance salsa or bachata or speak Spanish, because that was home for me, right? So having that club really felt like home. So in adjusting, it kind of takes a minute, but you're always able to find like a home away from home. That's what you usually say with our friends. And the best way to do that is just putting yourself out there and knowing like you're doing this for a reason. Um, yeah, I think that's the most real I can be. Like it's not always easy to just move away, but it is totally worth it, and I would do it all over again every time.
Yeah, I 100% agree with the finding home thing. It's all about finding where you feel comfortable and where you feel like you can just be yourself and say whatever's on your mind and share it. And for a lot of people, it comes in very unexpected ways. Like you might find your group in your dorm, or you might find your group of people in an RSO, and it takes time. Some people can find their friend group in a week, and some people it takes them a year. It took me like a whole quarter. Um, and yeah, it's just yeah, like Justin says, like the trade-off is just what's worth it. And yes, I think, do we have any questions on the whole presentation, adjusting, anything you guys want just before we go? Yeah. Okay, while we wait for a question, I have a question for both of you because it's going to be your last year. So what are you most excited about for going back on campus in September? What is like something you're waiting for?
I can go first. So I did study abroad last fall. So I really love fall in Chicago. I love seeing the leaves turn. I think it's super beautiful. And I wasn't there last year, so I'm pretty excited to experience that again, at least one more time. I think for me, that's what I'm most looking forward to.
I don't know. Um, yeah, I generally do not. I'm more of like I'll live in the present, and then once it comes, I'll be like super excited. Like once I see the trees falling, I'll be like super excited. Right now I'm kind of just I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know, but I'm also a little bit sad that it is the last year. Because it is the last time I'll see my friends and like the classes and everything. Um, so I guess I'm excited about like ending this like period of my life. I think that's how I would say it.
That's I'm really excited about fall too. I think it's really pretty coming from somebody who had never seen seasons. Mexicali is like a desert and it's all gray. Chicago being like red and orange and yellow in fall is so gorgeous. I think I'm not a fourth year, but I think I'm just excited about going back and just like continuing and finding new things. And yeah, this was it for today. Thank you everybody for joining. I hope that it was informative. I definitely learned a lot and I feel like it was a good conversation. Um, this is the Mexico City events, but you can go on to any of this and find the rest of the centers if you're coming from one of the other centers. Yeah, we have events, I think, for mine end next week, but I think we have some more weeks for both of you guys. So yeah, register, come join us. We're really excited about sharing and giving you guys information. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in. Yeah, I'll end the screen share.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Bye. If you guys registered for this event, you will be registered for our mailing lists for more information. So trust you will continue getting emails from Education USA for a while.
Yeah, I also put my personal email. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. Would love to help.
Oh, sure. I can also put my email as well.
Yeah, I'll add mine in too. That's actually really smart.
Thank you guys for coming. Have a great day. Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
guys.
Thank you so much, you guys. I think this was really good. Okay. Okay, I'll end record.